Hello and welcome to my evaluation for my AS media project. Let's get started. First question. In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Now, thriller, detective story. For me, it's noir films, 20s and 30s, so the convention was obviously black and white. Very dark story, not a funny story, and I wanted to make it based on storyline again, not action, basically. Very storyline based. However, I did challenge a convention with the killer. Somehow finds a detective first. It's not. The detective will try and find the killer, but the killer's already found him. Kind of tried to switch the roles there. Now obviously shows it's a subgenre of the noir films is that it's in black and white. It's a thriller, it's in black and white, detective, killer. In my mind, that's a noir film. Now, I've pretty much started to base all my conventions with detective. I pulled everything around it. The killer. If there's a detective, there's a killer. The detective's going to be after the killer. It's going to be a dark mood, etc, etc, etc. Pretty much based it all from the detective. And on this, I'll make a small note about my influences. First of all, Sin City visual style, actually, as well as the noir films. It's got the more bleached black and white, and it also has those spurts of colours, like I did, especially with a shoe hitting the ground at one point in my video. Then there's a film called Ghost in Shell Innocence, animated film. There is a scene in it, a shop scene, with a very eerie atmosphere, very natural, very alien, even though it's just a normal shop. The paranoia of the character is shown through that very, very good sound work. And also I've pulled a couple of ideas and shots from that scene. This was my main inspiration. And lastly, Death Note, a Japanese animated TV series, for me was kind of the idea for the killer's psyche. In this anime, as it's called, the killer and the detective are at each other's throats. But always, they're trying to find each other, and their paths always cross, but they never truly get there. They always just miss each other, as they're always trying to trick each other, and it's all very intelligent. So that, again, that was a big influence for how I imagined the killer to be like. Kind of a bit... every killer's crazy, but this one especially, it's playful. He's playful. Question 2. How does your media product represent particular social groups? I don't have a distinct social group represented in mind. I haven't tried to represent anyone. Okay, there is a male dominance in the cast, but that was not intentional to create an idea. So the characters are all clean slates as I see it in the opening, and I wasn't trying to create any kind of sort of prejudice on any of the characters from their class or anything like that. So essentially it's a clean slate for them to develop in the film later on. So I didn't actually try and do something with a social group, and so therefore this means my target audience is a much wider range. I'm not appealing to young people. I'm not especially, but obviously not young people. From the genre is not made for young people. That was quite a bad example. Question 3. What kind of media institution might distribute your media product, and why? I imagine a small cinema, really. I'd imagine it to be a cinema release, but obviously not major. It's not a Hollywood title. it would be quite reserved, quite a niche market, and yeah, it wouldn't have a big release, and I don't see it as a TV film or an art house. Yeah, and I think it's cinematic enough to be in the cinema. It's not TV or anything. That's how I see that. Question 4. Who would be your audience for your media product? Now again, as I said, I didn't try and represent a social group, so I wasn't really aiming for one. The only limiting factor is the genre itself. It's not funny, it's not for children, it's very threatening all the way through, very dark, and would possibly have blood later on. So I think it would be teenagers and up, probably 15 rating. So it would be for anyone who can basically handle it. Both the storyline and the atmosphere. And if you look at Sin City, the more modern kind of film noirs, not for kids, really not for kids. But mine wouldn't be as violent and action-packed as that. Question 5. How did you address your audience? Well, I attracted the audience basically with the suspense of the storyline. That is what's going to happen, what's the detective going to do next to try and catch the killer? How is he going to do it? But then there's also the tension, the constant tension, whether the detective is doing anything, there will always be that tension. What is the killer doing? When is he going to pounce? So that's how I kept him in. And camera work wise, high angle, low angles, point of view shots, makes the audience feel like they're more within the scene. It'll make them either feel more vulnerable or more in control, and especially POV shots put them in the place of the detective, which I would make them follow all the way through the film. They would really be with him, and it would probably make him a more likable character if they knew him well. So this impacts on the story, basically that the story follows the detective. That's about it. Yeah, here we are. That's it. Question 6. What have you learnt about the technologies from the process of constructing the product? Now, the camera I used wasn't a school camera. It was better in terms of quality. I'm using it right now to film this. So obviously that was very good. I had a higher... it was in actually filmed in 69th, higher resolution, higher frame rate enabled me to do some good looking slow-mo. It was small, it was light, that was great. The main problem with it though was battery life. Encountered some major problems with battery life, that we were always on the limit for the last couple of shots. Yeah, that's mainly it. Special equipment wise, a great, massive advantage I thought for the first scene, outside scene especially, was the Gorilla Pod. It's a small tripod with completely movable legs, and the one I have is also magnetic on the feet, and so you can put it on absolutely pretty much any surface. And that was very useful to put on the car. Got some great shots out of that. That was a great thing to have. Editing software wise, we were provided with Final Cut on school computers, which I did use a little bit, tried to use it, but I ended up using my own software which I could use at home and spend more time and I was more efficient with. Sony Give Vegas Pro 10, and I've already been working on this program for about 2 years now, so I knew extensively how to use it, and editing in my mind was going to be really my strong point, which would make the video shine in the end. So I used my own software because I knew how to work with it much faster and much more efficiently, and make some much better stuff in the end. Question 7. Looking back at your preliminary task, what do you think that you have learned in the progression from it to the full product? Well, any pre-production. The preliminary task had pretty much nothing, and the pre-production for the final task essentially meant everything was much smoother. Everything went much faster, much more efficiently, and got some great stuff. Storyboarding, you could show your actors already what you wanted before. You had a script. You could actually plan a proper scene with an actual story in it. And so that made it just smooth and just better. That's it. Research, everything, all of that, great. Now, as user shots improved, obviously yes. Much more room to experiment, obviously, when I'm in when I make the final thing, and didn't have a proper purpose, not something to show with the shots in your preliminary. So of course my use of the shots has improved. Also, I learned more about them since then. And yeah, so I think I was pretty successful in fulfilling the task of basically making a movie opening. It was a bit trailer-like when I was in editing. I changed it to be an opening, like it had some tendencies of a trailer. So and in the end it showed the names, it did what it had to do. And it introduced the story. I didn't tell an entire story. Now you gotta know what the killer does. So I think I did fulfill pretty well what was at hand. So thank you very much. That was my evaluation, and if you haven't seen the actual video yet, then please go watch it. Thank you. Bye.